Hello, and welcome to another Overpaid Over the Bar video with me, Anthony. Looking forward to the final 2 weeks of the 25-26 season, not the 26-27 season, as I think I called it last week in the video. Getting ahead of myself as usual. And we're in a double game week. And the final fixture as I speak has not yet been played. So I'm recording this on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Uh, British summertime. It's the same time on the clock here in Portugal where I record. So I played the bench boost this week, and that still hasn't played itself out because Manchester City will play Crystal Palace this evening, and I'm doing pretty well. 89 points. You might say that doesn't look like 89 points because the bench includes Raya in goal. I mean, I could have put him in as the main keeper. I didn't know who to because there's this thing in FPL where people think it's kind of wrong to put when you do a bench boost to put your best players on the bench, even though they'll score the same because it looks bad. So like you have to put your players that you would have benched otherwise on the bench. So that's a real bench boost because then you can see how much your bench scored. Honestly, I'm not sure I would have put Raya on the bench if I'd had Henderson for 2 games. And I'm sure Henderson will not get many more points against Manchester City tonight. Maybe a penalty save against Haaland. That would be a treat. He's not bad at saving penalties, is Henderson, but I'm not counting on that for sure. So on the bench, Justin 4, Thiago 2, and Dewsbury Hall. Very happy that Justin got DEFCONs at Spurs on Monday night. That was a big boost for me. The Dewsbury Hall assist, good player, Dewsbury Hall. Top player, actually, Dewsbury Hall is. And of course, Raya and Gabriel scored 9 and 11 because of VAR. Now, I don't know whether the ref left it up to VAR if he saw the foul on Raya, but for me, it was absolutely a foul, and I think it was the correct decision. Sorry for everyone who wants Arsenal to suffer and Spurs to go down, because that would have been an ideal combination in those. That would have been an ideal result in that scenario. Um, So basically, I think I would have made something like 7 or 9 points less if that goal had been given. That is the fine margins. Those are the fine margins of FPL. So I'm now got a really nice 89. Everyone's got Haaland as captain, so I haven't made much ground there. The transfer in that I made was Hinshelwood for Tavernier. And that had turned out really nice. And Brighton's last two fixtures are pretty good too. So I'm happy with that fixture. I'm a bit disappointed I brought in Eze. I'll talk about that in a bit. Cherky was substituted on 59 minutes, didn't even get 2 points. And let's see if he's selected this evening. Josep Guardiola, that's his real name. That's his full name in Catalan. Uh, Josep Guardiola has made some statement about rotating tonight against Crystal Palace. Although it wasn't clear if he really meant the Palace game because he actually mentioned the Bournemouth game, that he needed the players for the Bournemouth game. So he might have been referring to the FA Cup final. Who can say? It seems doubtful that he'll rest players in an FA Cup final, but it could be tonight that we don't see a full team. And I would think O'Reilly, Cherky, or Semenyo could all be under threat for this evening. If even Haaland possibly, because Marmoush can come in and play that position. So players like Phil Foden might get a shot, but I mean it affects everybody in the same way because we've all got the same players. If he doesn't select Semenyo or Cherky, that will help people with the other one. That's the only possible gain or loss from that eventuality. My Palace players did nothing against Everton. I suspected they would. And I mean, luckily I've only got two because some people had three Palace defense and that'll be costly in the last two game weeks of the season because you're not likely to get much out of them then either. So you need to transfer them out, or I'm just going to leave them on my bench for the rest of the season. I've got other capable players in those positions. So I'm feeling pretty good because I'm up to 23. This is before tonight's game. I mean, it probably won't make a lot of difference, I wouldn't think, tonight's game to this rank, unless Semenyo goes off. That will make a lot of difference. 23 and a half. Now, what that's done for me is a couple of things. It's on the one hand, it's like it's massive relief because I was worried I wasn't going to finish outside the top 50K, and that seems unlikely now with two game weeks left. My squad's pretty good. I can't see. It's also pretty safe. Like there aren't many players that can hurt me over the next 2 weeks. So I think I'm pretty safe for the top 50K, but unfortunately, it's given me this glimmer of hope that I could finish with a four-digit rank, which may influence my transfers this week or next week. Because there's this idea that, oh, if I get this one differential that scores a hauls 15 points or something, it could really push me up because I'm not that far outside the top 10K. Um, but I think I really should just be happy with a top 50K finish. Okay, so this video, these videos were originally intended for members of the overpaid, over the bar to just check on each other. Everyone get together in this video. So I know now we've got some people that watch these videos that are not in this mini league. So for those people, you can jump through to the bit that follows it, I suppose. But we had some great scores this week. Gonzalo in Portugal got 79. I'm obviously this game week isn't finished. These could be a lot more. Piers got 70, has 78 so far. Fantastic recovery given his difficult start. I mean, he must be quite high in the second chance league. No? Where is he in that? 166K. Okay. I thought he might even be higher than that. So he's done really well since around December, I think. And let's just have a look at his game week history. So his overall rank is now 500,000. He's been around 500,000 for a few weeks now. But his overall rank in game week 25 was 2 million. So what's that? 11 game weeks. That's very, very good. And around game week 16, he was 3 million. So yeah, what a tremendous improvement over the season. And he is a very good player, as we've seen over the years in this game. Um, so also did well. Bayern Brew's not doing badly. Eki Tiki Taki has got Doku. Matt Cox has got Doku. He's playing the triple captain on Haaland, and he's got Doku. So he could make 120 tonight. Well, maybe we'll see. He certainly go over 100 tonight. You'd think with these players. He's got two Crystal Palace players as well. Maybe one of those get def cons. I honestly, Crystal Palace will rotate this evening. I doubt Adam Wharton will start, but we never know, do we? So, anything lower down the league? Not particularly. So, let's go in to the transfers for this week. So, I'm trying to. How do you get rid of this at the top of the screen? I've got something behind the. There we go. There it is. So, here are the last 2 weeks of the season for each of the teams in the Premier League, from Arsenal to Liverpool, first of all. And we can see, first of all, that Arsenal have great fixtures. Now, talking about Arsenal, Saka or Gyökeres would seem like the best players to get in because you would think they're going to score goals against Burnley. If Manchester City win tonight, the possibility of goal difference having a say in the final on the final day is still there. If Arsenal draw, for example, at Crystal Palace. So you would think they'll try and score some goals in this game, and Burnley don't really defend well enough to keep a team like Arsenal out for long periods. So I would think there'd be two or three goals at least in this for Arsenal. The only thing about Gyökeres is there's a small possibility that he might get rested because it's Burnley and because Havertz is coming back to full fitness. And you would think he would want Havertz to have some minutes now coming into this final stage of the season, especially with the Champions League final on the horizon. So that'd be only worry, but I do think that he's not only the best idea for a transfer in Gyökeres, he might also be the best idea for a captain in this game week. So I can't get him in. I've got Eze. It would be two transfers to get Gyökeres, which is too much for me. But I think if you either got him already or you want to get him, I think, yes. Saka, I think is also great. He did a lot of minutes last week for Arsenal, so you'd think that he'd also get some good minutes in this one because they really have to wrap it up, don't they? And they might well do this weekend. Um, Aston Villa's fixtures are terrible, but if you have one, you might think, well, they can score against anyone. Remember, Villa are the type of team that can drop points against any team in the league and beat any team in the league, and they proved that over the last 2 years steadily. So don't be surprised to see them just beat Liverpool 2-0 at home. Could easily happen. Bournemouth at home to Manchester City. That is on Tuesday, I think, next week. So it's the last game of the round with them playing with Manchester City playing the FA Cup final on Saturday. There are no Premier League fixtures on Saturday this week. They start on Friday night with Liverpool, with Aston Villa, Liverpool, and then there are a lot of fixtures on Sunday, one on Monday and one on Tuesday. I think this one is Bournemouth at home to Manchester City. And you could just see Bournemouth getting something from this game. You could certainly see them scoring. And with their final fixture at Nottingham Forest, if you have Bournemouth assets, I wouldn't sell them. I'd hold on to them. Brentford at home to Palace is fantastic, but they are away at Liverpool on the last day, and you would think Liverpool in front of their own fans, despite the fact it's been a hard season for everyone at Liverpool, you would think on the last day that they'd want to go out with a bang against Brentford. But Brentford home to Palace, any Brentford regular scoring point scorer, defenders or what are they called? Schade, Jensen is a possible one, and then Thiago. Igor Thiago. He is my favorite FPL player of the season, no doubt at all. Um, and yeah, some people sold him against Manchester City and he blanked. So you did the right thing, but do you want to get him back? Brighton, away at Leeds, home to Man United. Now, Leeds, I want to say something about this on the beach thing, right? So we've been saying this for a long time about teams when they don't have anything to play for, no threat of relegation, can't get in the Champions League or Europa League spots. So the players just go, okay, well, I can't be bothered now. Honestly, look at their manager, look at their captain, right? Brighton, Daniel Farker at Leeds has still got a lot to prove. He's still fired up, and you can see he's fired up. Their captain, Ethan Ampadu, is 100% player, never ever stops thinking for the team from the moment he comes on the pitch to the end. He brilliantly got in the way of an overhead kick at Spurs on Monday to win the penalty. So he sees the player trying to kick the ball out with a high foot. And he goes in and he puts his head on the guy's boot. And he literally puts his head on the guy's boot knowing he's going to get kicked in the head. And that's not a player who's on the beach. Okay. So when you talk about teams being on the, like people are talking about that with Fulham, maybe, right? Marcus Silva, maybe. But Leeds, no way, right? So if you've got Leeds assets, don't sell them. Brighton away is a decent fixture. It's not as hard as that to score at Brighton. Although you'd imagine Brighton win the game. Brighton have Manchester United at home in their last game. Sorry, that's at Leeds. Excuse me. Yeah, Leeds at home to Brighton. Sorry about that. My bad. Leeds at home to Brighton. Amazing fixture for your Leeds players, in my opinion. And then Brighton home to Manchester United in the last game. They're looking to go into Europe. They might have to win that game to be in the Europa League. Hinchelwood, arguably Gross, Welbeck, Van Heck, any of these players, Verbruggen, I mean, they're all good for the last two games. I don't know if anybody's looked at I think I'll do this after this, but if you've looked at the game week 38 fixtures on the final day for FPL, they just stink. They absolutely stink. We'll look at that in a moment. Burnley play Wolves on the final day. This is what reminded me of it here. Chelsea have Spurs at home, Sunderland away. Now, these are good fixtures if Chelsea were good. If we could rely on them, they're good fixtures. Joao Pedro, good. That'd be great. That'd be great. And Chelsea do well traditionally against Spurs. I mean, maybe Chelsea will begin to turn up. I don't know. Crystal Palace at Brentford, they might put out a strong team for this. Haven't got any other fixture. I think tonight against Manchester City, they won't put out a strong team. At Brentford, it could be a bit stronger. I don't know. At home to Arsenal, it's only 3 days before the Europa League conference final, so I don't know. Okay. Everton have Sunderland at home, Tottenham away. Everton are the other team to think about investing in. So you've got Michael Keane in defence or Tarkowski in defence. You've got Dewsbury Hall or and Ndiaye, and you might even want to risk Beto, but he shares minutes with Barry, so not great. But Sunderland at home, Spurs away, nice fixtures. Everton player, very good idea. Wolves away for Fulham. So this weekend, if you've got Harry Wilson, don't sell him now. We've got Wolves away. And then Newcastle at home. I mean, these are winnable fixtures. Are Wolves up for it? We don't know. I've already talked about Leeds. They've got Brighton at home, then West Ham away. I've got Calvert-Lewin and James Justin. I'm very happy with that. I'll stick with them. I'll play them in both those games. I won't have them on the bench. Aston Villa away, Brentford at home for Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool are worth investing in. Manchester City, Bournemouth away, Aston Villa at home. Difficult fixtures. But I'm sure everyone will have three Manchester City. There's a danger that there's nothing to play for if they've already not won the league on the last day, that they rotate. But at home, no, you don't do that at home, do you? If you're playing at home on the last day of the season, you don't rotate your best players out, I don't think. Manchester United home to Nottingham Forest, away to Brighton. Good fixtures. I only have Bruno Fernandes. I'm sure that's true of most people. But if you wanted to add to that, you could. There were talk about Cunha not playing again. But ESPN Brazil said, "Oh, he's not going to play again. He's agreed. Manchester United have agreed with Brazil that obviously that. I mean, once that story's out there, there's no way they could not play him. It's like if they don't play him, then whoever leaked that story, if it ever existed, meant that it could never happen anyway. So if there may be an agreement not to play him against Brighton on the final day. That's the only thing I can think of. But the idea that Manchester United and the Confederação CFF, Confederação Federal Football, I think it is in Brazil. If they'd agreed with Manchester United not to play Cunha, that would have to be secret, and so it's definitely not happening. So Cunha might be an option because Mbeumo seems to be uh, doubtful as well. Newcastle home to West Ham, away at Fulham. I don't know why people keep saying Newcastle are rubbish because they're not. I mean, they're not. They're not rubbish. They're okay. And with Bruno Guimaraes back in the team, I think that's a nice option. And with Anthony Gordon not playing, Bruno Guimaraes is now the penalty taker. So that is, I think he's a decent investment. I'm not sure I'll be able to get him, but he's a decent investment. Nottingham Forest, obviously a bit broken after not reaching the Europa League final. Away at Man United, home to Bournemouth. I wouldn't expect too much from any of their players in those two. Spurs at Chelsea, home to Everton. Probably have to, they probably still go to the final day with relegation not decided. So that Everton game on the last day is massive. Sunderland away at Everton, home to Chelsea. I wouldn't go there. West Ham away to Newcastle and a home to Leeds. Again, that Leeds game on the last day could be absolutely massive. I think Newcastle will beat West Ham at home. But anyway, I don't know if Bowen's not a bad shout, though, is he, with those two games? And then Wolves, excuse me, Wolves have Burnley on the last day of the season. Let's now look at the last day of the season because it really is. If you look at this now, each of these fixtures, you're looking for someone you can bring in who you think's going to score points, right? So we've already got Man City 3, we've already got Arsenal 3. Manchester United, Brighton, hardly safe bet either way. Burnley Wolves, you might want a Burnley player like Anthony, but who's to say Wolves don't beat Burnley? It could go the other way. Fulham, Newcastle, I think that could go either way. Liverpool, Brentford, I wouldn't trust Liverpool players. And I wouldn't know who he's going to select up front either. Could be Rio, could be Gakpo, you don't know. Nottingham Forest, home to Bournemouth, could go either way. Spurs, Everton, could go either way. Sunderland, Chelsea, Chelsea aren't reliable enough to bring in for that. And West Ham, Leeds. The what we really wanted on the last day was three or four fixtures where you'd think, yeah, this player could benefit. And looking at it, I mean, I think it might be an idea is to wait right until the deadline, which is 2:30, for any rumors or leaks, because we do get that sometimes on the final day with them all kicking off at 4 o'clock, and then go with a player that you know is definitely playing. Bring in one you know is definitely playing. Um, but that's getting ahead. We've still got game week 37 to get through. And as I said, there's a Friday night game, and then most of the games are on Sunday, with the FA Cup final being on Saturday. Okay, so Aston Villa are in the Europa League final. So congratulations to my nephew Jake. He's an Aston Villa fan. Hearts are going to the wire in the Scottish Premier League. I've got my Hearts colours on today. I think actually I don't know. Maybe it is. So Craig is on the edge of his seat now for the next 10 days or however long it takes. They play a game this weekend and then they play Celtic on the last day. So I think Celtic play Motherwell as well in the next game, which could be tricky for them. But if Celtic and Hearts both win their next game, then I think it's a showdown on the last day. I think with Martin O'Neill, Celtic boss, he would have done a magic turnaround if they win that league. But a lot of neutrals, me included, hoping Hearts win that. Um, Also, Southampton, that's the other team I need to mention. Looking at my notes, John Holloway's Southampton are in the final of the Championship playoffs, so we might have another Premier League supporter in the overpaid over the bar league next season. So good luck to John when they play Hull City in the final of the richest game in football. I've never understood the richest game. Isn't it the most lucrative game in football? Because the game itself isn't rich, is it? I mean, the game itself isn't rich, right? People get rich from playing the game. I know that I may be a bit pedantic here, but I just don't like that. term. Richest game in football. Anyway, so if your team is done better than mine this season, well done. Um, if your fantasy team has done worse than my fantasy team this season, never mind. There's always next season. And have a great weekend. Take care. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Bit, what's the word? Rambly today. Sorry about that. I mean, it always is, isn't it? So you're used to that. Take care. Bye bye.